Tim, if that's you, you need to sign off on the RPC.
It is me, and I just was looking at that to see,
Yeah.
oh, hey, I am signed in. So yeah, I'll sign off and sign in as myself.
Okay.
Be right back.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Richard, how are you?
Not too bad, sir.
There you are.
I was sitting here just in a short sleeve shirt. I realized the patio door was open and I was freezing. You could squirrel.
Interesting weather.
Mm-hmm. That statement, you don't like it, wait a minute. It's
Yeah.
true.
Yes, indeed.
Dave, you typing something?
I not.
I just have a question. I asked Tim, but I think he misunderstood the question. On number 4, it says 2021 work program presentation.
Yes.
And that is, where is that?
I believe it's part of the PowerPoint Tim is going to present.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a document for you guys right now.
I didn't think so. And your voice changed.
Yeah. Hidden talents. Step away for a minute and grab a drink of water.
Oh yeah, my drink.
Okay.
I was thinking normally I'd be having a beer with folks right about now, but I didn't feel like it was appropriate to bring a beer into the
I won't
office.
say anything. I won't, if you could just put a straw in it or something. Just call it a COVID.
Right.
Actually, Dave, before you walk away, I think I made you host accidentally. I wanted to make you co-host. Can you
Okay.
unhost yourself and make me a co-host?
Isn't she nice? She's kissing up for a reason, David. Watch it.
I don't need a reason.
Oh, that was good, Jen.
I do not know how to stop being the host.
Right click on the Rockingham Planning. In the participants list, it'll say more.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll be right back.
Yeah, basically, the way I see it is this list is reflective of what department heads see as a kind of the burning need.
Hey, Jen.
Jim, I'm gonna mute you.
Jen,
Yes.
on the nominating committee minutes, one,
Yep.
2, 3, fourth paragraph down.
I actually don't have them up. Hold on just a second, Roger.
Sure.
Or Richard. I actually don't have the nominating committee minutes, Richard. I only have the reports.
Oh. It says, at the meeting on March 27th, the nominating committee reviewed the current roster of all commissioners, their tenure and resignations. Isn't that more, shouldn't that be designations? Or is it truly resignations?
I think it was resignations.
Really?
I think we had one or two resign. Oh, I think it was just a review of the status because over the past year, a few people have
Oh,
resigned.
okay. Now I understand. Now it makes sense. It's too quiet. Should have music or something. Jen, sing a song.
I am not a singer, Sorry. Okay, Dave, I'm going to make you the co-host again, not the host.
Another question, David. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We used to have 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9, 9:15. So much time for each section. Why did that go away?
I don't have an answer for you on that, but I'm guessing because the agenda is so short that Tim didn't want to put subscribe times to things. He was thinking the whole thing might last an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
That is correct.
There he is. He can speak for
There I
himself.
am. There I am.
He's hiding.
Yeah, it's,
Hi, Phil.
hey, how are you?
Hi, Tim. You've got a guest, Phil. You can't hear.
So at this point, we are on public input and YouTube. And Tim, I'm just currently sharing the agenda, but if you want to share something else.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to share something else and I need to get to, there we go. I need to see who's here so I can do the roll call 3 times. All right.
Tim, the phone number you're seeing is the public input connection. Don't kick them out.
That's a nice photograph, Jen.
Thanks. It's over
Yeah.
near Hampton, your neck of the woods.
Yep.
That public input, anyone that's out there could be the gentleman from the census. I'm not entirely positive, but that's a possibility. And I'm just gonna be speaking to his issue and just let everyone know what he was asking us to do.
Okay. There's currently no one on the public input line, so.
Okay.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Glenn. I like your new background picture.
Yeah, I was out doing some work amongst the trees yesterday, and I was facing the woods. I turned around and I saw that, and I said, "Oh, that's a nice shot. I will try that." Oh, and there's Peter. He saw that last night.
That was very nice.
Tim, Mary Allen is also on the line with Jim Doggett.
Excellent. Okay.
Dave are on.
Yeah, someone can fix it.
Good evening
Hello, hello.
from Exeter.
Oh, look, I figured out how to do it.
Get the light on the back here.
Beth.
Nice farm there, Glenn.
Thank you, Lang.
What's Phil? Got snow behind him?
Oh, it's a river.
Oh, okay.
My backyard. But it was taken in February.
Okay.
It's not today.
All right.
Thank goodness.
No, that's Denver.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're in Colorado and Wyoming.
Right.
15 inches of snow.
For the flume.
Tim, we do have at least one person calling in and participating via public input.
Okay, thanks. And I guess I believe that is a gentleman from the Census Bureau.
That's the 7690 number when it pops up on Zoom.
Okay, let me double check.
Glenn, how many trees do you have now? Glenn,
Who's talking?
I am. How many trees do you have?
Oh, Richard.
Yes, sir.
There's about 2,000.
Is there that much?
Yeah, yeah. You
Very-
never know it.
Varying sizes, I assume.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, some of them have gotten so tall that I'm going to have to take them down this fall.
Ooh.
They grow all the time, you know.
That was good.
Oh,
Tim, let me know when you're ready.
We'll do, Barbara. I'm going to give it a few more minutes. See what we have here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10.
well, it is 7:02 by my clock, Barbara, so we're definitely a smaller group this time than we were for the MPO meeting last month, so we can probably get started. I was going to have everybody shut their video off, and when you wanted to be recognized, turn your video on. However, with a smaller group, if it stays at this size, I think we can manage it pretty easily. So whenever you're ready, I'll let you as chair, Barbara, take on the start of the meeting.
Thank you, Tim. This is the meeting of the Rockingham Planning Commission. Per RSA 91-A:2, Roman 3, B, I have declared the COVID-19 outbreak an emergency and waived the requirement that a quorum be physically present at the meeting. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to be with us. Tim, will you call the roll, please?
I will. There's a couple people still coming in, but I will do that. That's so when I call your name, just announce that you are present and that you are where you are and if you're with anybody else. Richard McDermott,
Present by myself.
Phil Wilson,
Present and alone.
Jim Doggett,
Present with Representative Allen.
and Representative Allen is present with you, I would presume. Stephen Gerardo. If Stephen's unmuted yet.
Stephen.
Andrew Brubaker,
Present by myself.
Glenn Koppelman.
Present, home alone.
And I'm gonna go back to Stephen because he's unmuted now. Stephen Gerardo.
Present, alone, and happy annual meeting.
All right. Lang Plummer.
Home by myself, me, myself, and I, three of us.
Upper Kravitz.
I'm home and Sonny Kravitz is with me.
All right. Elizabeth Morrow.
I'm home in a room by myself. My husband's downstairs.
All right. Mike McAndrew.
Home alone.
All right. Tim Moore.
Home and alone.
Julian Kiska.
Home and wife in the kitchen.
All right. And did I miss Peter Coffin by accident?
Yeah, I'm home and alone.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. And sorry, we have one person joining us. Could I have a name for 427-2806?
Chris Cross, Newington.
All right, Chris, thank you. I'm just gonna see if I can change your name to say Chris Cross.
Okay.
All right. So Chris Cross, you are here and are you alone?
Yes, I have my wife with me,
Okay.
Cynthia.
All right, Barbara, that's everybody that I have.
Thank you. I will accept a motion to accept the minutes from January 8th, 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments?
Abstention.
Then all those in favor? Say aye, please.
Aye.
You gotta call the roll.
I have to call the roll again, Barbara, sorry.
Oh, you do. You do. Thank you.
I do, it's just the fun of this. So I'm gonna go right down the line. Everyone unmute yourself and just give me an aye when I call your name. Richard McDermott,
Aye.
Phil Wilson,
Abstain.
Jim Doggett,
Aye.
Mary Allen,
Aye.
Stephen Gerardo,
Abstain.
Andrew Brubaker,
Aye.
Glenn Koppelman,
Aye.
Peter Coffin,
Aye.
Lang Plummer,
Abstain.
Barbara Kravitz,
Aye.
Elizabeth Morrow,
Aye.
Mike McAndrew,
Aye.
Tim Moore,
Aye.
Julian Kiska,
Aye.
and Chris Cross.
Aye.
Excellent. All right.
Tim, my apologies. I should have said abstention instead of aye.
All right.
My apologies.
Good.
Thank you. Any opposed?
No one's
Any
at it.
Sorry?
No, I think we're good since
We're
that was the vote.
In the minutes from January 8th, 2020 are accepted. We'll move to the nominating committee report. Tim, would
Yep.
you take that, please?
You bet. So nominating committee began meeting in February. I think it was when we first met in person, last met in person, I should say, and we got our committee membership together. The committee membership consists of Glenn Koppelman, Barbara Kravitz, Alan Davis, Lucy Cushman, Phil Wilson, and Richard McDermott. We met again remotely when all this fun began with COVID-19 on March 25th. And again on April 22nd to consider nominations for officers and new executive committee members to make sure that we had as full of a executive committee board as we could. In the March meeting, we reviewed the various commissioners, reviewed the bylaws, made sure that we had all of our items in place. We then reached out for new executive committee members. I've made a couple solicitations, a number of direct calls. We were fortunate enough to have one new member step forward. That's Elizabeth Morrow of Portsmouth, who's here tonight, who's stepped up as a new executive committee member at large for fiscal 21. In the course of those meetings, we also nominated a new slate of officers. The chair being proposed as Richard McDermott of Hampton Falls. Our vice chair, who is proposed as Alan Davis of Hampstead. Treasurer is Mike Terrell of Atkinson. He's continuing on in that role. Glenn Koppelman of Kingston is continuing on as secretary. And Barbara Kravitz will move from chair to immediate past chair as our officers. And our at-large members are Mike Rabideau of Seabrook, Tim Moore of Plastow, Mike McAndrew of Newcastle, Lucy Cushman of Stratham, Lang Plummer of Exeter, Phil Wilson of Northampton, and our newest member is Elizabeth Morrow of Portsmouth. And that leaves one opening for someone to step up this evening is with a nomination on the floor. So if that is something you'd like to consider, we'll need a person to do that and a vote on that. But right now, that's the slate that has been presented
Tim,
to you.
Phil Wilson, Tim?
Say that?
Is Phil Wilson not on there anymore?
No, Phil's on there as an at-large member.
Okay.
So that's the slate that was proposed by the nominating committee for your consideration. As I said, there is that opening if someone was interested in stepping up this evening, or if you have a suggestion, I would be thrilled to go pressure that person into joining us. And I'll note that Ann Carnaby has joined the meeting as well, and I'll add her to the roll for any votes.
Tim, it looks like Jim Doggett has raised his hand.
Sure. You have a question, Jim? Can I unmute you? Oh,
I was offering to fill the void.
oh, you are offering to fill the void. All right. So we have I guess we take that as a motion of some sort, correct, Barbara?
Yes, we'd have a motion to add to the proposed slate Jim Doggett.
This is Tim Moore. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any comments? We'll take the vote.
All right, so everyone, let's unmute everybody if you can do that, Jen. I'm not sure if you have control of that.
They're unmuted.
All right, thank you. Richard McDermott,
Yes, sir.
Phil Wilson,
Yes.
Jim Doggett,
Yes.
Mary Allen,
Yes.
Steve Gerardo,
Yes.
Andrew Brubaker,
Yes.
Glenn Koppelman,
Yes.
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Lang Plummer,
Yes.
Barbara Kravitz,
Yes.
Elizabeth Morrow,
Yes.
Mike McAndrew,
Yes.
Tim Moore,
Yes.
Julian Kiska,
Yes.
Chris Cross,
Yes.
and Ann Carnaby. I don't know if Ann's microphone's working yet.
She
Doesn't
is
sound like
unmuted. She is unmuted, but
Yeah, no, I see that. I'm not sure if she had a microphone problem last time too, so it seems to be. And I don't know if you can type in the chat window. If you, from the bottom of your screen, you click chat, you could type yes if you're in favor, and we'll take that as your vote. All right, well, hopefully Ann can work that out, but that's a majority vote, and that would be our slate of officers and our executive committee at large for fiscal 21. And I want to thank Elizabeth and Jim for both stepping up to fill us out for a full board. It's very helpful to have, a full board and a diverse board with a good representation across the region. So I appreciate you guys stepping up and the rest of you for hanging in there with me.
Jim, thank you so much and welcome. Tim, I think we need to be sure that the motion is crafted so as to include the vote to add Jim Doggett to the slate and then the slate as well.
Is that, who made the original motion?
I think that the vote to add Jim Doggett to the slate adds him to the slate. So I think the only motion that is needed is to adopt the slate as presented.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Oop.
All right, so we have to run through then again. Is that what we're doing here?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we did a motion to add Jim Doggett to the slate. And now we're adopting the slate as presented.
Correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
And if this doesn't make you want to get back together in person, I don't know what does. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. So this is to adopt the slate, I guess, as presented or amended this evening. We'll work out that language. Richard McDermott.
Yes, sir.
Phil Wilson.
Yes.
Jim Doggett.
Yes.
Mary Allen.
Yes.
Stephen Gerardo.
Yes.
Andrew Brubaker.
Yes.
Glenn Koppelman.
Yes.
Peter Coffin.
Yes.
Lang Plummer.
Yes.
Barbara Kravitz.
Yes.
Elizabeth Morrow.
Yes.
Mike McAndrew.
Yes.
Tim Moore.
Yes.
Julian Kiska.
Yes.
Chris Cross. And I still don't know if Ann Carnaby can speak on this yet, but Ann Carnaby, I will call her name anyway, as being present. So that should pass. Oh, she wrote yes on the chat window. So Ann is in support as well. All right, so now we have a slate and executive committee for fiscal 21. So I think we've succeeded.
Well,
So
thank
again,
you
thank you
all.
all.
Thank you all. And the slate it turns over on the 1st of July, correct?
Yes.
That is correct. So I don't know if this is the time for this or not, but obviously this would be Barbara's last meeting officially as chair. So I just wanted to thank her for her leadership in the last couple years. it's in all the years I've been involved with regional planning commissions, it's rare to find someone who is as passionate as Barbara and committed to, you know, of making the commission successful and effective in the region. And I really have appreciated her guidance and willingness to be there whenever I had a question. So I thank you and look forward to a point where we can, you know, in person, give you the honor that you deserve for your service of the last couple of years. I really appreciate it.
You just stole all our thunder.
All right, well.
Well, there's time for comments at the end, but I do want to say, return the accolade to Tim, because I think he's been an extraordinary leader. And as he suggested, usually this June meeting is a full-blown annual meeting with festivity and visitors and speakers and topics and so on. And we thought the best thing to do now is to move that agenda to the fall, when hopefully we can all be together. Now I think we're ready for Tim's work program presentation. And Tim, before you actually get into that, can we just thank, I see David Walker, and I see Jen, and just want to thank them for all that they do during the year and being with us.
And Annette's here as well, taking minutes, so I couldn't do it without them, so. So I will, if it's all right with everybody, I'll attempt to share my screen here. I have a dozen or so slides that I'll move through pretty quickly, but what I want to do is just highlight a few things that have, you know, happened in the past year very briefly, and then just give you a couple of points on the budget for fiscal 21 and what that should entail for our work program. And I'll talk a little bit about, you know, potential opportunities that are on the horizon, and a little bit about how I arrived at the budget, and that I took a conservative approach in light of everything that's been going on in the last 3 months. Because I have a hunch that this COVID thing is going to have a long tail and it may bite us down the road, but hopefully not. So let me try to share my screen, if it will allow me to do that. Looks like it did. And I'll just send this into a slideshow, I think. Okay. All right. So our budget work program highlights for this year, for the past year. Of course, we started out, as you are mostly all aware, with our effort to sort of rebrand and change our look and feel and enhance our communication and outreach. We've had, you know, a couple staff people working in that capacity in the last year. Of course, we had Isabel that helped us get started with the rebranding and working on the logo, and Amy has now stepped in to help us with newsletter, website, and getting the messaging out and helping with that branding. So that was probably one of the bigger efforts of fiscal 20, and it really got us off on a good start.
Jim,
project-wise,
Jim, there's 5 photographs on the right-hand side of my screen. It's blocking some of your.
Yeah, it's over the slide. Jan, is there anything we can do about that?
Individual users should be able to move that if they want to and collapse it in the top.
Yeah, Richard, if you put your cursor on there, it'll give you a couple of options at the top of the screen. The one on the far left will minimize it for you.
Oh, so I can do that.
You can do that yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right, so now so now you can see the whole slide.
Yep, exactly.
And
Thank
you
you.
don't have to look at me anymore either, which is even better. All right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no problem. So on the project side, I just wanted to highlight very quickly some things that happened that you may or may not be aware of. Scott was really busy with a bicycling level of traffic stress analysis. This was a grant through Federal Highway Administration that will really help not only our region, but all of the state in planning and implementing bicycle networks and projects. So we'll have a set of measures that will help prioritize those projects when various funding opportunities come along. That is just wrapped up, and Scott will be presenting that on a number of national webinars over the course of the next few months. So that's great. We also have completed a transit needs assessment that covers our region and beyond. And this was presented a couple times over the course of the year, but it came, I think it was at our last legislative forum, in fact, that Scott presented this to us. And this is something that we continue to use as a tool to assist Coast and our other transit systems around the state and region to address the issue of funding. In fact, if possible, this needs to get back in front of the various budget committees at the State House so that they can understand that it has been requested that that happen. So it's a great product that Scott's produced and puts us in a very a good light. More transportation work that we did, Route 33, the congestion analysis, we got that started. We were able to present, using our new travel time data that we get through the Federal Highway Administration. We were able to demonstrate where the traffic problems are on Route 33 between Stratham and Greenland. We also assisted Greenland with traffic counts to address truck diversions that are related to that congestion and that analysis. One of the bigger projects that we've had going on that's started this fiscal year and will continue into fiscal 21 is our Seacoast Transportation Corridor Vulnerability Assessment. This is looking at the impacts of sea level rise and even the storm surge that we get today on the transportation network and infrastructure. Everything from the pavement and culverts to the traffic impacts that could happen. In a worst case scenario down the road, if we were to lose portions of 1A twice a day, every day, or portions of Route 1 twice a day, every day, we'd have to figure out, where traffic would go and what improvements would be needed to address that, or would it be possible to mitigate those impacts and build our way out of this. So that's, this whole project is looking to inform long-term investment and decision-making for transportation on the immediate coast. We're partnering with the New Hampshire DES Coastal Program, the DOT, UNH, and the various municipalities that are along the immediate coast and the corridor. So it's a good project, and it's gotten a lot of visibility, and it will continue to do so, I think, into fiscal 21. Done a number of local planning contracts and assistance. I've just highlighted a few of them here. We've done a lot of MS4 work, towns like Atkinson, Greenland, Hampstead, and others. I didn't list them all. We've done a number of source water protection grants. The most recent one that we were successful in getting was a project to develop a model buffer that will help in buffer regulation that will be a model ordinance for communities to address water quality and protection. We're in the midst of a drinking water plan, sort of the first phase of our source water protection drinking water plan that Jen is working on. We've had some 604B money come through from DES to work on the country pond management plan in collaboration with Kingston and Newton. We've been doing master plan updates, and Fremont is one example. We did Newington, and Hampton Falls was completed in the last year as well. So we have a number on the horizon too, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Yeah, and GIS, we've had a number of areas there where GIS has actually generated a little bit of its own business here, where we're actually helping the town of Stratham update their tax parcel data, publish the tax maps, and we've developed an online portal so the citizens can access the tax maps online and look at their tax card and have that information available publicly. Town of Salem, we did a townwide build out analysis with them, and we've got some natural resource inventories going on, or just completed those with the towns of Fremont and Northampton. GIS team was involved in a story map for the Exeter Affordable Housing Committee. They looked at multifamily housing, where it was and how it was integrated into their community, and we were able to use GIS to show both images and mapping of where these multifamily homes were scattered throughout the town of Exeter to show how diverse their housing stock is. It was a really interesting exercise, and we were glad that we were able to help them with that. And then we did some road surface management with the GIS team, where we looked at pavement conditions in Hampstead, and we're able to report out to them and give them a cost-effective methodology for budgeting for road surface and pavement condition. And of course, you know, this year wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about how we've managed to get pretty good at these virtual meetings. I think our last meeting last month was sort of the groundbreaking meeting, where we had you know, the opportunity to actually conduct a hearing, and we were able to take full advantage of our public input software and portal. This screenshot that you're looking at is the way I believe we're going to do all of our tip amendments moving forward, where you actually can go and look at the information in one spot, provide comment during a public comment period, provides the public notice on the same screen, and then the public hearing is there and can be viewed from this public input portal, sort of a one-stop shop. So making it very accessible to the public. This was picked up by UNH Cooperative Extension, where they wrote an article on this and put it in their blog. And since then, I think just today, I learned that Public Input themselves, the software company that we work with, picked up the UNH Cooperative Extension article and then blasted that out on a national level and put our experience in meeting out to all of their clients around the country to show what we have done. So hats off to my small team that came and helped put this together, being Jen and Dave, and made that happen. So a little round of applause to them with your virtual applause. So that's sort of, you know, where we began with our rebranding to ending up in a virtual format. I never would have predicted that for this year, but that's sort of how it's gone. And we were able to, I think, accomplish a lot of good things in between. So I'm going to move on to the budget, and we can take questions afterwards, I believe. I think that might be the easiest way to do this. So if you've been around with us for a little while, you realize that our budget generally doesn't vary a lot. You know, with the exception of the years where we had the large regional plan and broadband type projects, those where there were larger revenue sources available. The last few years, things have really settled out, and we've been into this range of a budget revenue of, you know, $1 million to 1.2 million, in that range. And this budget that we have here for fiscal 21 isn't really any different. I did take a pretty conservative approach, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, just because of the COVID-19 issue and the impact on the economy and sort of the unknown duration and impact on, I think, municipalities. I didn't plan on a whole lot of local contracts coming forward. So that's where the biggest change is, I think, from year to year for us right now. But just running through this, our dues basically the same. It's still the same formula of $1 per capita for the first 10,000 in population, then 50 cents per capita for the next 10,000 in population, and 25 cents for anything beyond that. So the only reason our dues changes is it's based off of the OSI population estimates, which ever so slightly have been going up from year to year. So I think our dues went up just a few $1,000s overall, and that was spread across everybody based on the OSI population. Transportation program remains our biggest funder, as it has been for years. We are carrying forward some money from this current fiscal year into this budget, which has made the transportation program a little bit bigger of a slice of that pie, just a little bit more by about I would say it's about 5% larger than it has been. But that's okay. You know, that actually helps in a time when there isn't a lot of local money. So that's a good thing. Our environment line, that's environment and land use and other land use related projects is the way I categorize that. This generally involves our DES funds, our source water funds, the coastal program funds, and that those generally anything that comes through DES or is related to land use planning. This is pretty typical of where we're at about 100,000 or 10 or 11% of our budget. There, is opportunity there that I'll talk about after I get through the whole thing for more revenue in that area. The state funding is the standard $11,111. That's $100,000 from OSI to all 9 regional planning commissions, split 9 ways. And somebody gets the extra penny every year. It wasn't our turn this year. So, but anyway, that's how that breaks out. And that money has been there and steady and flat. Circuit rider contracts are basically the same. We didn't change any rates or hours as of this budget. We are circuit riding in 8 communities. I'm sorry. Yes, 8 communities in total. Right now, there's potential for at least 1 more, possibly 2. And then local contracts are those master plan updates or other technical assistance contracts that are above and beyond dues. That makes up about 4% of the budget and brings us into a total of just under 1.1 million. For reference, we were at 1.14, I think, last year, with a few more local contracts and a few more contracts from DES. But those are still possible this year. So again, this is a conservative approach on the revenue. On the expense side, the payroll is obviously the biggest expense, and that includes payroll taxes and the other processing expenses that go along with that. The next biggest is the benefits that go along, that's state retirement, and then healthcare, dental, that lump into that. And then that's the second, those 2 are the largest expenses that we face. Contracted services are contracts that we pass through to consultants as an expense that come out of the revenue stream. Teresa Walker does some work for us. We have a couple consultants working on that Country Pond project that I mentioned that will continue into the future. And then a few that jump into our various DES contracts on source water protection, as well as our DOT contract. We have folks helping us with the model. And traffic counts are a large percentage of those contracted services. The rest of it is general, pretty much office expenses and equipment, but our rent is about $51,000 a year. We can have a discussion another day about that, given in the light of how things are working from a remote office perspective, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And then office equipment and office expenses, they are a lump that I put forward here for you. But a lot of it comes down to just the general supplies and things like that that go into it. Our software licenses, our software subscriptions, some of our GIS licenses, computers, keeping things current. All those items end up in the office equipment and expense line items. I just put our audit out there as a separate item at $12,000. Brings total expenses into around just over $1,080,126 with a potential reserve if you subtract the revenue from the expenses of about $15,000 for this year if this all works out perfectly as shown. Hopefully it will. So before I leave the budget altogether and talk about what's coming, what that's going to mean in terms of projects for fiscal 21, I just wanted to give you some idea of potential new revenue sources, just to give you an idea of what's out there. And I think we could be in a really good shape in potentially adding staff if all of this were to work out. Some grants that are out there, the Piscataqua Region Estuary Program is going to be fielding some local technical assistance grants for our communities. We've been pretty successful in the past in acquiring those grants and supporting our communities on those. So I'm just saying there's potentially between $10,000 and $20,000 of revenue out there. Some of you are already familiar with the Tufts Age-Friendly Communities grant that we've applied for. That's a $40,000 grant for next year. Sounds like we're in a good spot and we may actually get that. So we'll know in the next couple of weeks if that's going to become a reality, but that would be an additional $40,000 in revenue. The Department of Environmental Services has coastal resilience grants for a minimum of $25,000. We have an idea that I'm really excited about that we'll hopefully be talking about soon that Jen and Julie are working on, and I feel good about it, but we'll wait and see how that plays out. But that'll be somewhere in that $25,000 plus range. And then the rest of these are just possibilities. Hampstead has been talking about a circuit rider and put it in their budget, although that hasn't quite played out yet, so we'll see how that works. Hampton Master Plan is hanging out there. There's definitely the need for more MS4 assistance, whether communities realize it or not. They'll likely need some help. And then our GIS services, Rob and Christian are continuing to reach out and develop business that supports them beyond just a service or a support function in our overall business model. They're starting to generate a little revenue by providing services to our community. So all in all, if this worked out, there'd be $175,000 there, give or take. So it's a good place to be to have that potential with a budget that looks like it already has a little bit of cushion. So I think we can feel pretty good about this. This budget was reviewed in, I think, March, April, and May by the executive committee as it evolved over those 3 months. And they did recommend that the full commission adopt this, do that. And before we take any action on that, I just wanted to walk through what some of that revenue is going towards for the next year. Some of those coastal resilience initiatives, we're working with Northampton and the Little Boar's Head Village on a coastal hazards adaptation and master plan chapter. We're working with Exeter on some sustainability and resilience officer work that they're trying to establish that as a potential position, which could eventually even become a regional position depending on how that works out. That Seacoast vulnerability, the transportation corridor assessment is going to continue into 2021. That'll be a big part of our coastal resilience work. And as I mentioned, the new opportunity for that coastal resilience grant, we're talking about things that are related to innovative land use for the coastal and tidal communities as a potential project and application for that grant. Transportation planning. We are in an even year. We're going into the fall of 2020, and on the even years of the 2-year transportation planning cycle, we are talking about the 10-year plan project solicitation. It's really the long range plan and 10-year plan project solicitation. So we'll be looking for new projects to be added to our long range plan and 10-year plan for the upcoming cycle. So if you're following the legislature, our current 10-year plan hasn't been approved yet. It's heading in that direction for this summer. So that one will be approved. And right after that one's approved, we're going to start looking for new projects. It's that continuous cycle that's going on. And that really occupies a lot of our transportation planning staff time in these, the fall of these even numbered years. So that will be happening. And then that will lead to our transportation improvement program and the statewide transportation improvement program updates that go along with that. And I already mentioned the Seacoast Transportation Corridor Study. We'll be having, I believe, if Federal Highway acts on it, our MPO certification review is due this winter, which is a review where they come in and make sure that we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. Federal Highway comes in with DOT, Federal Transit, and does sort of an audit assessment of our work plan on the transportation program. I think some of you have participated in that in the past, and we'll probably be looking for you to join in again when and if that gets scheduled this winter. Couple other things. We have an economic impact on analysis that we're doing for Coast and DOT. And then we're going to be looking potentially at the transportation needs of older adults through that Tough Stage Friendly grant, and hopefully advancing our rail trail planning with the Hampton branch and other projects in the region. Land use for the upcoming year, the big things are our regional housing needs assessment, which is due, which doesn't have a funding source, but we're working to find one. Regional master plan, which you all remember from the Granite State Future Initiative. It's time to update it again. We don't have Granite State Future or funding through HUD, but we're going to have to start talking about how we're going to at least get that conversation going and seek out some funding for that. And the rest of it, I think, is out there. There's opportunities, as I mentioned, for master planning, MS4 permitting projects that we could work with, and then our source water protection projects that we have going on. One thing I'll add to this is that I have economic development planning as a potential initiative here. And one of the things that's happened with the COVID-19 issue is the impact on the economy and the Main Street, our local businesses and our downtowns has been significant. And we have forged a partnership with the town of Exeter, Darren Wyndham, the Economic Development Director, Laurel Adams at the Regional Economic Development Center, REDC, Jen Wheeler at the Exeter Chamber of Commerce, and Nancy Kramer at the City of Portsmouth. And we sort of formed this ad hoc economic development, regional economic development group to try and help local businesses through the pandemic. And we've been pumping out information on all of the various fiscal initiatives and things like the Main Street Relief Program. And I know there's been a lot of issues with it, but what it's done for us as an RPC is it's raised awareness of our existence to about 12,000 business owners around the region, which I think is important. And we've gotten quite a few responses and emails and questions and thanks, and a little bit of frustration with the issues at the state level, but that's to be expected. But I think it's been a good initiative, and if we can continue to capitalize on this, my vision would be to potentially have a planner or part-time planner that was sort of in that wheelhouse of economic development and working with local communities in that aspect of planning that we don't currently do a lot in. So I'm hoping this opens a door for us that we can take advantage of, and that's one exciting initiative I'm looking forward to for fiscal 21. And I already mentioned GIS in what they do. It's really, they're continuing to plug away. They're going to be providing a lot of support to all of our programs, but also taking advantage of some of the tools that they have to provide services to communities. As we said, we're working with Stratum already on their tax maps and building up their GIS capabilities and helping them, sort of being almost like that circuit rider for GIS capacity for them. And there's been some interest from other communities as well to have sort of Rob or Christian be that GIS sort of circuit rider support person where we can get in there and help them and make sure that they don't have to make a huge investment in GIS when we've already done that at the regional level. And we can provide them with good support on that. So there's a good opportunity there as well. And all these things should really help out, fill out our work program for the coming year. I'm going to stop my share and just tell you that the plan is to put this this slideshow into a document, a PDF like we have in the past, and share it out to you all as our work program. I didn't do that in advance of this. I just wanted to get a presentation out to you, and I'm going to have Amy working on putting this together into a work program format that will be shared to all the commissioners and all of our municipalities, so everyone knows what we're up to for the coming year. So with that, if I can take any questions, and then you all can decide if you want to make a motion in support of the recommendation of the executive committee.
Let me suggest, if you want to make a comment, just put your hand up in front, and Tim can know that you want to come.
Yep, I have Elizabeth first.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the fact that you took a conservative approach to the budget, because I do think, as all the municipalities are struggling with now, is the fact that our economy is going to struggle at some point due to the COVID and everything that's going on. So thank you for doing that, because I think it puts us in a better position.
I appreciate you noticing, and I think it'll be, like I said, that when I say this has a long tail, I'm thinking more about, next year when we ask for our community support in terms of dues and things like that. I know there's already talk about, 5-10% budget cuts across various departments in various towns. And I hope folks see our value to stay with us. And I'm hoping things like that, working with the businesses in the main streets, show that we're not just about planning boards and planning, but we can also be effective in the community and helping get this economy going again. So thanks for mentioning that. Anyone else?
Part of our mission is to help the towns grow, not just do planning.
Yep.
The mission is to grow them. One question on the new business. You had Hampton $10,000 to $20,000 with a question mark at the end. How much of that 10 or 20 is up for debate? Or is it all?
Which one was it again? Sorry.
Hampton's new business, it was $10,000 to $50,000.
On the Hampton master plan?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it was the master. I don't have. I
think it was for Hampton, for potential revenue. Hampton is going to put out an RFP for their master plan at some point in the near future. They approved, I think, somewhere in the range of $125,000 at town meeting. So my assumption was that if we were fortunate enough and lucky enough to get that contract and win that contract, that fiscal 21, if it happened in that year, we would probably only use or acquire, a portion of that $125,000. So it would be a multi-year contract. So I assumed somewhere in that $25,000 to $50,000 range for 1 year.
That is part of that 125.
Yeah, it's part of that's my assumption. That's what the potential is.
And where is Backey or Bakey Farm?
I think that's Kingston, isn't it?
Yeah, it's East Kingston.
Yeah,
is it East Kingston or?
No, it's Kingston, Richard.
East Kingston.
No, it's Kingston.
It is Kingston. Okay.
It is.
Good question. Do we have someone that hasn't been on the roll call already?
Yeah.
Al Davis joined us.
Yeah.
Right.
Al's here, and I'm looking at CAC and CBC4. Who is that? Any idea, Jen?
No, they just came in a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Well, they need to identify themselves for the record.
be spies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who are you?
Yeah, anyone out there, CAC and CBC?
Yes, Jim, that's Tim, the Chris Cross.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're on a computer and a phone. Is that what's going on?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Got it. Thank you. Usually what happens. All right. So any other
I'll only
questions?
vote once, though.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Has the COVID cost, has it affected the DOT money, or is that separated?
You know, I think they're being hit on the toll revenue for sure. I think they're being hit on the gas tax revenue, Stephen. I think both of those things are going to be hits for them. It's a conversation we're going to be having, I'm sure, as we head into this next cycle of the 10-year plan. So yeah, I'd expect that to be the case.
Are there any other comments relating to the FY 2021 budget?
Barbara and Tim, this is Jen. There are no comments coming in through our public input online streaming.
Thank you. Then I will accept a motion to accept the fiscal year 2021 budget as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget as presented. Stephen Girardo.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye. And
Oh,
Tim,
no, roll call, Barbara.
Roll call.
Roll call.
It's the last one, I promise.
No, you got to close the meeting with
That's
one.
what they always say.
You have to, I don't know if we do. Anyway, Richard McDermott,
Yes, sir.
Phil Wilson,
Yes.
Jim Doggett,
Yes.
Mary Allen,
Yes.
Steve Gerardo,
Yes.
Andrew Brubaker,
Yes.
Glenn Koppelman,
Abstain?
Peter Coffin,
Yes.
Blaine Plummer,
Yes.
Barbara Kravitz,
yes,
Elizabeth Morrow,
Yes.
Mike McAndrew,
Yes.
Tim Moore,
Yes.
Julian Kiska,
Yes.
Chris Cross,
Yes.
and Ann Carnaby. If you want to type in the chat window, we'll count you that way if you can't hear us. There you go. We got a yes from Ann Carnaby.
Good thing the meetings are smaller.
sorry, couldn't hear that.
It's a good thing the meeting was smaller than we used to have years ago.
Right. Well, last month we had 30 something, Stephen. So
Yeah.
that was even harder. So, all right.
I wasn't.
Where are we, Barbara?
We're going to take the vote. All those in favor?
That was your vote.
That was what we just did, right?
That was what we did. Yep.
Yes.
So were there anybody on your list, Tim, that wasn't counted?
Oh, I got everybody.
How about me?
What did I miss?
You missed
Oh, Al
Davis.
Davis. Sorry.
That's okay. Yes.
My apologies, Al.
What I'm really asking is there any reason to ask for no's? It sounds like there isn't,
Yeah, no. Okay.
right?
Great. I think we're good.
Everybody's accounted for.
Yep.
Okay.
What do we have next? Is it other business, public comment?
Yes.
I have one item that I just wanted to let you all know about that. I was a gentleman named Richard Perrin with the 2020 Census Partnership reached out to me and wanted to let everybody know that with everything going on in the country right now, just to remember that the census is still in progress and there's still time to complete the, a response if you haven't already. And so what I would do is ask you folks as commissioners, if you have the opportunity to let your boards know and your friends know in your communities and just help us continue to get the word out there. You all know the census is important. I'm preaching to the choir. It's a huge amount of money, something like $675 billion, I think, across the country that gets distributed to the states and local communities. My understanding is in our region where we're having trouble is the Hampton Beach area specifically and the Seabrook Beach area specifically are pretty low in response, and that could be very much related to, the seasonal issue combined with the lack of real beach access or the whole pandemic issue. So by all means, if we can get that information out, I'm going to be putting out an email with this information. We've got a couple of videos coming from the Census Bureau as well. And one of the things that we've done that was pretty successful, and I think we'll try it again. Jen's on the line and she was partly responsible for this, is between Jen and Rob, we produced a map that shows the response rate by community. And then what we do is we put it out on social media in the various community unofficial pages. So say the unofficial Portsmouth page or the unofficial or Stratham Talks or whatever you want to call it on Facebook. And then we sort of pit the communities against each other and we say, hey, Stratham, don't let Greenland beat you in the census, and Greenland, don't let Stratham beat you, and try to get people to respond. And we had quite a bit of response and from that, and got quite a few more folks involved, I think. So we're going to keep on doing that, but I just wanted you all to know that it's ongoing, it's important for all of us, and to please try and, in your role as commissioners, to do what you can to pass that information along to your leaders and your friends in your community.
Okay, will do.
Will do, yep, got it.
Thank you. Any other comments that folks would like to contribute?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Sorry?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn meeting.
I don't believe we need a roll call to adjourn. I think it's at the direction of the chair.
But the chair would like to thank you all for all of the work and your commitment and your really effective support and ideas. And RPC is the great beneficiary of all your efforts. So I want to thank you for that. And I will also say, Tim, that I would like to, for the record, to thank the staff for everything that they have done, in particular, how they've managed to create a really smooth, different way of working and communicating and still keep all their work moving forward. So I
Who's
would
the
like
new
that to
chair?
happen.
Who is the new chair?
Me,
Richard
you got a problem?
No. When did you get elected?
When you were out.
Okay.
The Marine has to come out once in every meeting.
Now the Marine has spoken.
I don't think you can hold two jobs, Richard.
Thank you very much.
TAC and RPC.
Yeah, and some things in town too. Barbara can fill in anytime she wants.
Alan, I'm not sure what time you come into the group, but we did approve the slate and as presented by the nominating committee. And we're fortunate enough to have Jim Doggett volunteer for the space that's vacant. So we are a full executive committee.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute to this session? Then I will adjourn the meeting at 8 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Be safe.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yes,
Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
you're welcome.